The best. NBA slogans that are allowed. The new Ford Bronco, no funding for Minnesota, and a whole lot more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show with guest host Caleb Shaw.
Yep.
Hopefully it's working. Let's do this.
We made it.
How are you, man?
I'm back. Day
Good.
2.
I'm glad you're back.
With internet.
It seems to be like we're okay right now.
It's the little things, my friend.
It is. Little victories on days like today. So let's do this. Going to be a cold one this morning. Wade and Carter weather. 79 right now. Going to go to a high of 99. So we're not going to hit triple digits today.
Bundle up. Stay warm. It's 99. Ugh. It actually feels like that might be a little bit cooler, huh?
Yeah, maybe it might. I don't know.
South Texas.
We'll see. Hey, I meant to ask you yesterday when you were in Colorado, did you get a look at the Neowise comet? Were you able to see it in the sky in the morning? You weren't up that early, were you?
You know, we got up decently because we had some mountains to hike, but no, I didn't see it, and I saw your message later on, and I was like, dang it, I did not look for that. And so I should have, because it was. You can see things out there in the sky. It's pretty cool. You see stars. You see the moon. It's pretty exciting.
I was looking for it this morning, and I had a nice clear view of Venus, and then there was some clouds, and I couldn't quite see it all. So
we almost stood out there and got that little app that you could, that Google Earth or whatever, where you can turn it around and see the stars, but we didn't. We were going to. We just didn't. Vacation time
story of life, right?
Yeah,
going to, but didn't.
It moves like twice as fast on vacation.
Doesn't it though?
You run out of time quickly.
And even when you're doing nothing.
Yeah, that's the worst part. It's we were like, what happened to 12 days? Like it was just gone, and here we are sitting back in the office. It's like this is cool.
Let's see who's checking in this morning. Bobby Leister, good morning. Michael Jolly, Marvin Mickish, David Glass, C.W. Bean, Judge Posey, Patrick Strauss, Chris Conrad, still holding steady at 67 YouTube subscribers, according to the Leisterometer this morning. Matt Boucher, Steve Kidder says, vote. Sky Sanchez, good morning. H.R. Mallory is in, Jimbo Slice, Karen Webb, Scott Snow. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well this morning.
Got a whole crew already. Good.
The runoff is here. Finally. Today is the day. We're not going to be pushed back another month or month and a half. We're not going to be postponed.
So they say.
So they say.
I got to say before we go further, I like this angle a lot better. When we had that camera vertical yesterday,
it was tough, yeah.
Yeah, I noticed it got me to lay my gut on the table so we could get comfortable here. You move around a lot to keep the legs fresh, and yesterday's camera captured that angle a lot.
Yeah, I was a little more vertical than this one.
My wife's like, don't just lay your stomach out on the table like that. Not very sexy, Caleb.
So, Tiffany gave you some feedback yesterday, did she?
I'm watching the way I stand today. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gotta look good.
Scott Snow is in. Pat McDonald, good morning. Tammy Williams, Christina Wise, Heather Monroe, good morning, everybody. So the polls are open, I think, 7 to 7 today.
Yes, sir.
You can vote at your usual voting precincts. You don't have to go to the Patty Dodson Center. Runoff again. Justin Marr, Dale Fowler for Victoria County Sheriff. Ashley Hernandez, David Hagan for Victoria County Tax Assessor and Collector. And I think that's it on the Republican ballot for the runoff.
Quick and simple.
Very quick. I mean, and you don't have to worry about touching that little plastic voting pen. They give you a cotton swab that you actually pull out of the sterilized packet yourself. Okay. So
mask?
I believe you have to wear your mask.
How do they verify the ID? Do you pull that? They just check an eyes to verify the IDs and stuff when they do that, or
I don't remember.
I was just curious how with the mask on they verify ID. Just questions.
And probably a good one.
Yeah, I've seen mixed. I've seen some people coming out saying that they didn't wear them, and then some that they did. And probably a good idea to have it in your pocket just in case.
But shouldn't take long.
No, it'd be nice, if the results aren't delayed like they were last time, and hopefully we get these at a
Wow,
reasonable hour.
with only 2 races, you'd think it'd be fairly easy to.
Though I've
Come
kind
up with
of
them.
figured out it seems like normal's gone out the window. So maybe
Wow.
sometime next week we'll know, or it'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah, hopefully sooner than that. Dwayne Payne, good morning. Adam Daughtry. Bobby Smarkman is in. Paul Ebner, Greg Garcia. Tammy Williams says almost 8,000 people have voted early.
That's pretty solid.
Seems pretty solid, especially for a runoff.
Yeah, because it's
Especially
hard
for
enough to
runoff.
get people to vote the first time. You get them out there the second time.
Well, you get them out for the primaries in March, and then they were supposed to vote, the day after Memorial Day, right?
I believe so.
And then it got pushed back, and now you're in, we're July 14th, so we're 6 weeks beyond that or more.
Jeez.
So,
and then here comes November,
yeah.
right behind it.
And I know in talking with both Justin Moore and Dale Fowler at prior to or either I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was on the day of our debate, and both of them were concerned that turnout was going to be below normal.
Yeah.
Given the fact that this thing has moved and been kicked down the road a little bit. So
I would have assumed the same thing. And then you mix in COVID and everything else, you'd think we'd have about a fraction of our normal fraction.
Yeah. So Rena Scherer says, good morning. Please go vote if you haven't already. There is our current tax assessor collector retiring. Congratulations on your retirement, Rena. And we'll have a new tax assessor collector in the morning.
Wow.
I guess not technically till the new year, but we'll know who it'll be.
We'll know. So we needed some answers.
Yeah. Mike Blosky checking in. Chris Jansen, good morning. Larry Leahy says, who cares about the NBA? You know what? I'm one who usually doesn't care about the NBA, but I think it's interesting what they're going to allow on the jerseys and what they're not going to allow on the jerseys. So
this just seems like it has a lot of potential to go sideways.
Doesn't it, though?
This just is, okay, you guys can do something, but you guys can't. But you guys can do this, but you guys can't. And this will turn out well.
There's my mom checking in. Good morning, Mom.
Good morning, Mama.
Don't forget, this is the league that is so woke that when one of its players spoke out against the atrocities committed by the Chinese government in China, China got mad and the league issued apologies, forced the player to make an amended statement. I don't know that it was quite an apology, but it was enough to kowtow to the Chinese Communist Party and avoid a boycott and them not allowed to play their preseason games there last year and all that. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because it intrigued me when I saw a headline that said that the NBA was going to allow social justice slogans on the backs of jerseys, I believe, in place of player names. Then you had LeBron James says, no way my name's coming off the back of that jersey.
Sells for too much.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. And capitalism roars its great head.
Yeah, this just seems like you've got a recipe for disaster here. And if this is the way you want to go, we're going to put slogans on our uniforms and stuff. Okay, but what I don't get about a lot of these slogans is they are slogans of untruths. And like I've seen a lot of these things with the say their names and all of that, where they still, Michael Brown on there and Ferguson. And so he was not a victim, that officer was the victim and the officer was attacked, yet he's still celebrated as one of the faces of the movement. And that, at what point does truth come into this, and you're throwing gas on a fire of something that's long been extinguished and shown to not be true, yet that truth part doesn't matter. And it's the narrative that we're still talking about.
Yeah.
And wasn't Michael Brown the one that launched the BLM movement to begin with, off the hands up, don't shoot, that was not even true to begin with? And here we are still with a false message over a false narrative, over a false case, all these things. And now they're going to be wearing them on uniforms.
False narrative that, when the numbers just don't quite align to the narrative. Wendell Geigel checking in. Jeffrey Fonseca, the Iceman is in. I read an interesting article that the leader of the BLM movement in New York, says we're going to militarize. We're going to take this fight to the streets.
Yeah, the leadership is saying one thing and the foot soldiers are saying another, and then we're being told by the media
A completely different thing.
Yeah, only listen to the flag waving and smiling people, out on the streets, but don't listen to the leadership that are promising, to burn it all down, and they're the ones getting the millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars flowing in.
Yeah,
So,
and Rena Scherer corrects me. There's another election in November, of course.
yeah,
On election day.
We even said it too, and then we breezed right past it.
Yeah.
Thanks for saving us there. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Oh man, let's see. And I know I sent it to you, and now I can't find it.
I see that He Hate Me jersey return. What was that? XFL? Or
that was XFL. He Hate Me. Yeah.
I forgot about that. I'm see, that's where I don't know. That was funny for a little while, but it lasted like 5 minutes,
Well, I mean, it was more in jest. It wasn't. I mean, that wasn't a legitimate protest.
Yeah, you weren't. Yeah, that's good.
He was trying to make a name for himself. He ended up playing in the Canadian Football League after that for a few years. I think he had a tryout in the NFL after that. Didn't quite work out. He was a decent player in the Canadian Football League. Not a Canadian Football League Hall of Famer by any means, but I think he ended up eking out a 4 to 5 year career in the CFL after that. So
that's impressive. You can still remember who it is.
I'm trying to remember if his name.
Because that was
I think the first name was Rod.
It was Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon,
right?
And the second time was Vince as well. I just didn't.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, we even talked about that
last spring.
Yeah. Good Lord.
Here's the list of phrases. I found it that can be on the backs of jerseys during the NBA season. Black Lives Matter, say their names, vote, I can't breathe, justice, peace, equality, freedom, enough, power to the people, justice now, say her name, liberation, see us, hear us, respect us, love us, listen to us, stand up, ally, anti-racist, I am a man, speak up, how many more, group economics, education reform, and mentor.
I'm a man? They're going to let him say that?
I guess so. A few of those I don't have a problem with. But where is the Blue Lives Matter? Where is Back the Blue?
Well, they're being attacked by the internet for having the audacity to mourn their fathers that were killed. Or, I saw those yesterday of the young lady that lost her father in the ambush in McAllen and makes a post about it and put Blue Lives Matter at the end. It gets attacked by social media.
So badly so, she had to take down her post and then ended up, I think, altering it and reposting it later.
Yeah.
But this is how insensitive the left is to a young woman in her early 20s who lost her dad, responding to a call of domestic abuse in McAllen, Texas. And as they approached the house, were shot down, him and his partner. Had no idea it was coming.
Yep.
And yet this country wants to push a narrative of police violence. Yet the media will absolutely, and the left will absolutely discourage and avoid the violence against police officers.
If any conservative players on that team wanted to come out with some conservative sayings for their jerseys, would those be allowed?
I don't think so. Looking at that list, I believe that's the definitive list that matters.
And that shows me that narrative has been swapped. I just keep asking to see the statistics that this is all based on, not the emotion, not the feelings, not your truth, my truth, all that stuff. But if we're going to have all these sayings for millions of people to watch on TV, and we're going to do it at the expense of our law enforcement, because that's who we're talking about. That's who they're saying are these evil people, these evil racists, they're demanding the justice from. It's a law enforcement and the system, but majority law enforcement. And so I just refuse to get behind that narrative unless I see it. Now individual cases or where there's there's fire that needs to be put out, it needs to be put out.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No issues there, none. And the cops wouldn't have any issues there either. But
not at all. And they haven't. They've said, you know what? If we've got rotten cops within us, let's get rid of them.
I haven't heard one that wants to keep them.
No,
you know?
not
a single. So yeah, I think this thing's you're picking favorites again.
Well, but the answer from the NBA was given to us last summer when they kowtowed to the Chinese government and issued an apology because an NBA player dared to speak up against the atrocities that the Chinese government commits against its people on a daily basis. All you have to do is look at the headlines out of Hong Kong over the last year and a half.
When LeBron came out and lectured everybody after that too, words have meaning. You need to shut your mouth and not, and it's like, wow, people dying in the streets and that's your.
Well, words have meaning because that meaning meant less dollars in his pocket when LeBron James jerseys aren't selling in China or threaten to be pulled off the shelves, right?
Yeah, funny how that all works.
Yeah, your words can have meanings. So.
Yeah, I kind of hope this whole. It'd be nice to just turn it on and play some basketball and watch, why I have to get social commentary at every sporting event now, or why I can't just tune in and I get enough of that crap every other day. Everything's politicized now. And the last thing I want to do is.
Oh, so now we're crap?
Except for you guys, but if I wanted to get away from the Wayne Carter show and go watch some basketball, it'd be nice to just, bam, here we go again, social justice 101. And,
the escape that entertainment is no longer.
Yep. And but on that note, I haven't watched a football game probably in several years, and I don't care anymore. You guys want to keep being dumb? Like, that was an escape. That's not real life to me anymore. I'm not going to be an NBA player. You guys are an escape, and you lost that now. I'll go hike outside and get bit by mosquitoes or something. I don't care.
I mean, the hypocrisy of it was never more evident than a few months ago or a few weeks ago when the rioting started in LA and you had NBA players all for the rioting until they started knocking on the gates of their gated community, and all of a sudden it was, where are the police? Where are the police?
Mm-hmm. Well, that one guy, they apparently, per him, that the one little rider went over and hit his car, the basketball player, he would beat the crap out of him. That was his thing. Well, he was fine. He was out there protesting until he hit my car. Yeah. Then that's not going to fly. He would have beat the crap out of him on video.
Saw something overnight that I thought was interesting, and we talked a little bit about it yesterday. Is it the McCloskeys, the couple that had the guns in St. Louis?
Yeah,
and are now being prosecuted. They've taken their guns from them, and
I heard them last night saying they think that an indictment is coming today, and they think they're going to be indicted.
But they've been painted as white Republican,
white
supremacists, and then I heard something either last night or this morning that that might not be an accurate portrayal of these two.
Yeah,
they actually may not be Republican, and they've actually supported the Black Lives Movement and the protests. They were defending their property as they have a right to do.
I would challenge anybody to be in a small enclosed neighborhood types. Picture a very small cul-de-sac, and let's just picture that we have a gate on that cul-de-sac, and you feel secure behind that gate because you've paid big money to feel secure behind that gate. And then all of a sudden 300 people storm that gate, and you're eating breakfast or dinner on your back porch, no shoes on, just back there with your wife, a little older in life, just kind of enjoying the fruits of your labor. And then you hear 300 people yelling, screaming, protesting in the front yard. That would be, I don't care, everybody's so tough on Facebook, and everybody's so gangster, until they look around your front yard and you see 300 people storming. And I think there was only a handful of houses in that little small area. And I challenge anybody to tell me that people weren't yelling at that couple, that they weren't screaming stuff at them, that they weren't saying stuff. And even if they weren't, how terrifying is that? But they make it sound as if it was kumbaya being saying as these people walked by and these angry white supremacists came out with their weapons and started threatening them. And again, I would challenge anybody. You stand out there and have a mob outside your house and tell me you're not terrified. And,
chanting whose street, our street, whose house, our house.
And you know what? I have a hard time after they destroyed the gate, after they stomped their way in, to think that there wasn't at least
they're just there to share the Girl Scout cookies.
You just saw them tear down a gate and storm their way in. What makes you're a fool if you don't defend that front door and defend that front step. If you let them in, and then it's already game on and you've lost, and hey, they didn't come and tag his property. They didn't come and do, but now that guy is losing everything, not everything, but it's bad. It's bizarro.
Probably going to lose, probably.
Well, they've been out protesting at his house since. That's what I don't get is you have random, this is what I don't understand about it. That DA there is now going after them. She's promised to prosecute them to the full extent of the law for their extreme violence against the protesters. And they defend, I just don't understand anymore. And that's where I feel like.
Because standing on your own property with a gun in your hand apparently is a violent act.
Against a mob of 300 people, like that. And they called them, Cuomo, the news anchor guy, just went on and ripped them the next day and tried to argue with them. And
there's a guy who won't ask his brother any questions about anything that went on in New York.
Yeah, the same guy that every night lectured everybody about having COVID and staying in the basement while he was leaving and going to his second house and getting busted. And then, it's just the hypocrisy of all of it is overwhelming.
Trey Molina checking in. Rob Pupi, good morning. Tom Price, Sheriff Louderback, Torrin Bales, Adrian Kennedy, good morning. There's my daughter Tyler checking in. Great time to tell you about Allen's Wrecker Service. If you need any sort of wrecker service, Allen's the only one to call. 578-6300, the only one we call, the only one you should call. Whether you've got a motorcycle that won't go, whether you've got a big rig that you need serviced or looked after. They can handle it all. They've got a huge 75-ton crane that can lift pretty much anything up from any situation. I've seen them work in wrecks where cars have gone into water. I've seen them work in wrecks where big rigs are overturned. They have the expertise, the knowledge, the experience to get it done, and they service not only Victoria, but they've got a new yard and office down in Refugio. So basically anywhere along 77 between here and Corpus Christi and beyond, Allen's Wrecker Service can get it done. 578-6300. SCT Building Systems, 564-8864. That's the number to call. Casey and Clayton Helt for all your construction needs, whether you're just looking for a storage building, maybe you're looking for a man cave, you want a daily escape to go enjoy a whiskey and a cigar.
Sounds good to me.
Out of the house so you don't end up smelling the house up.
Keep the wife happy.
Clayton can help build it all the way to a barnuminium to traditional construction. They can do it all. SCT Building Systems, 564-8864. VCS, Rocket Oil Field Services, the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer for all your communication needs. The VCS companies can handle it from radios. If you've got a fleet of vehicles and you need to talk to everybody in your crew, they can handle two-way communication. They can handle your personal communication, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's a new iPad or a tablet, whether it's a better calling plan for your family. School's just around the corner. You want to get your kids on a cell phone, they've got plans for you as well. And they've got the devices you need that you can control so you can monitor what your kids are doing when they're online. And Rocket Oil Field Services for any sort of oil field related services or even any other sort of related services. It may not be oil field directly, but if it's commercial, they can handle that as well. So check them all out. The VCS company's right there on Kerr Boulevard, just off 87. Amy Mundy checking in. Jason Garvel. Dwayne Payne wants to know exactly what the McCloskey's law did they break.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out in St. Louis.
They hurt the protesters' feelings.
I guess so.
Defending their own property.
I guess so. Now the mayor checking in. Good morning to you. So Ford unveiled the new Bronco yesterday. Did you get a chance?
I did when I was sleeping for the show. I saw that pop up at the last minute and started watching some of those. That thing looks pretty cool, though.
It does look pretty cool. 2 EcoBoost engines to choose from. Apparently, roof panels and doors that are easier to take care of and stow away if you want to remove them on the trail. About 8 different option packages or more. I mean, this.
What's the prices?
Base price, right at about 30.
Really?
I think for the base Bronco that's got a lot of off-road capability.
What's the tricked out roughly? Did you happen to see?
I didn't. I don't think they got there. They've got a Bronco Sport model, which is more a crossover SUV type as well, and I think that's the first one that's going to launch later this year. Then they get into the more rugged, heavy duty. Ford has said this is our Jeep Wrangler fighter. They're going after Jeep Wrangler. Jeep Wrangler has had the market for 15, 20 years with no competition.
Well, I like that they went a little tougher looking, and I know I'm probably going to aggravate some people here, but I think cars have just sucked the last couple. They look so soft, and they, now what they're calling SUVs, they look like a minivan and a station wagon mated, and that's what. All those cars out there are minivans. They just took the side door off and put an open door, and they're calling them SUVs. And everybody's like, "No, it's not a minivan." Yeah, it is. You put a sliding door on that thing, it's a minivan. And so I'm glad to see that we're getting back to a little tougher looking, because that looked like you'd be fun to hit the trails with.
Chris Conrad says fully loaded Jeep Rubicon's over 50. I think this will be similar. 2 EcoBoost engines to choose from. I believe the smaller engine does have a manual transmission. This thing is a rock climber. This thing has the ability to get up and down some pretty good inclines. So
people still know how to drive manual, huh?
Well, I don't. Well, we're about to find out. It'll be interesting to see in a couple of years if they decide to get rid of that transmission, because, it's got one of the gears is geared so low, it's got a C on the lever for crawl.
Oh wow!
So basically, if you're crawling, rock crawling and stuff, that's the one to use. Even the guy yesterday for Ford said this is not the one. They put it below reverse, so you don't actually get in there when you're trying to start off at a red light, because you're probably going to blow your transfer case.
Yeah, I think it sounds fun. My problem is they always, like when we went vehicle hunting, they always starting at 25,000. Where are those cars? Not the ones I like. And you can only be like 50,000. Like, good Lord, And what happened?
Nobody. Can you even buy a car with crank windows anymore?
No, and I love my
vinyl seats.
No, but my very first car I had not, because my dad, don't buy anything power in your car because it could go out and
it used to. Let's be honest, back then.
Yes, sir. And so I got everything manual in there, and I love my dad, but I only did that in one car. After that, I went ahead and got the power windows.
Yeah, Heather Monroe says she loves her Subaru Forester. Justin Glass checking in. But yeah, trying to think. I don't know that I had a car with power windows until I bought a 2006 Honda Accord.
Yeah, it was my second or third vehicle that had power stuff, because I listened to old pops and but Dad, as much as I love Dad, there's some things now that I partially, but he hasn't touched a dishwasher in his house ever, because he's like, it could break and then it'll get water everywhere. So he washes everything by hand, and God bless him. I love him.
We've lived down here for 24 years, and I think I can count on one finger the number of times I've seen water on my floor from the dishwasher.
Yeah,
seal around the door.
I sell houses for a living, and once or twice or 3 times, never. But you don't argue with Dad.
No.
Yes, sir, and you move on.
Steve Kidder, no AC, no sound system. We moved down here with a 1989 Toyota Corolla with no AC.
Oof.
And we lived for, I think, 2 years down here in Texas.
Oof.
In Victoria. With no AC in that car.
I was having a hard time in Colorado because none of the places we stayed had AC. And during the day, I was still hot. I know it's only 75, but I was still hot during the day and turning on fans everywhere. How does people? I would get an AC, I think, if I lived there still. But it beat up 99.
It's a big expense, because I know people back home who have central air and heat now. Your AC runs for about 2 weeks in the summer. That's it.
Wow.
Seems like a lot of money for an AC to install an AC system.
I don't know.
For 2 weeks of comfort.
You know, though, I'm at that
you-
point where comfort is comfort, and the older I get, the more I'll pay for it.
And 2 weeks is probably,
Things hurt now.
at least in Calgary, 2 weeks might be a max. For the 3 or 4 days it really gets hot, you could probably go stay in a hotel for the rest of your life and never pay as much as you would for central air.
Yeah, maybe then it would be. Yeah, I see
for the
that.
3 days.
I'm just so used to just melting all the time down here, so that sounds nice.
Tammy Williams is her first vehicle. Was a 71 Blazer with a 454. Nice. And a nitrous setup.
That's tough. Sounds tough. Had a Nissan Sentra.
You needed nitrous in with a 454? You didn't have that thing tuned right.
Yeah, I've never had nitrous. I'd get in trouble.
Peter McNally checking in. Steve Tyler, good morning to you. So Jenna West. I'll say this. I think where Ford got right with the Bronco, they took the styling cues from the original that was initially designed to be the Toyota FJ battler, right? It wasn't, if you remember, the first Bronco wasn't the large one that went after the Chevy Blazer. That was later in the 70s, 77, I think, when they finally went after the Blazer. The first one was designed to go after the Toyota FJ. And you remember Toyota rebranded and brought the FJ back a few years ago. And I think where they messed up is where Ford hasn't. Ford has made this very much, has targeted the Jeep, no doubt about it. But they went and made it so the roof can come off, the doors can come off. Toyota did with the FJ didn't allow for any of that. It had the look of it, but it never did. And I think that's what hurt it. And they got rid of it a few years ago.
When did you say these things will start rolling out?
End of this year.
Okay.
Bronco Sport, I think, is the first, and then the others will be out a little bit
I'd like
later.
to see it, let them get about a year under their belt, work out the kinks of the initial line and stuff like that. And now I get nervous about buying because you want to future proof, and you're like, man, everything's going to change tomorrow, and they're getting so fancy with their stuff. But yeah, I like that Bronco. That thing looked tough, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Cody Sugar checking in. Jennifer Yancey, Peter McNally's first car, 53 Hudson. What was your first car?
I want to say something cool and tough, but it was a Nissan Sentra, 1990 Nissan Sentra. Then I got an Eclipse, and then I got that Trans Am, and the Trans Am's still pretty bad. It needs a paint job, but it's still a pretty bad car.
Mine was a 75 Ford Maverick.
Sounds cooler than Nissan Sentra.
Slant 6 in it.
Sounds way cooler. I had like
2-door
speakers that I found in my dad's, and I put them in shoe boxes and put newspaper around them and wired them in the back because I wanted a system. That was all I could afford at the time. It was pretty bad.
The Maverick was supposed to be the replacement for the Mustang when Ford was going to kill off the Mustang, and the backlash said, no, we can't do it. So then they came out with that Mustang 2 before the Fox bodies were introduced in 79.
I don't recall the newest Mustang except for the Super Bowl commercial or something, and it looked so soft to me that I just don't even remember it. I just don't like I miss the muscle car looking, when you started, and it sounded tough, not that the little, it sounds like your muscle.
Like David Glass's 68 Buick Wildcat would have sounded.
I see. I don't even know what a Buick Wildcat is. I'm sorry, David. It sounds cool though. Wildcat sounds way cooler than Sentra. But I don't even know what a Wildcat is.
I'm trying to think. 68. That still would have been a rather squarish looking vehicle, I think.
Yeah, my
69. I think they changed up and went a little more round, if I recall. Natalie Myers says she has the Bronco 2.
Yeah, I'm curious to see them. I think it'll be tough and about that time. Last time was a happy birthday.
A call this morning. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, good morning, Wade and Carter. Did I hit the wrong button? Maybe. Good morning, Wade and Carter. And not what?
Oh, well, those two don't go in the same sentence together. Fuel economy and muscle cars. Yep, I could not agree more. Like I'll take the less miles
Hey.
and give me some muscle.
There's more base horsepower in the V6 Camaro than there ever was in any V8 Camaro from the 1960s. So
Yeah,
it's got some performance. There aren't any.
Yeah, I never
Computers and stuff. I don't know.
Well, I finally got my Trans Am, and then people pull up at the light next to me in like Honda Civics, and they're like, "It's got 700 horsepower." And I'd be, "What?"
Yeah.
You know, wee, and yeah, what?
But you can't argue though. Cars today way more reliable and less prone to breakdowns than any old cars. I know.
Quick. Well, I appreciate you, brother.
You just wanted to bust your chops.
Yeah, they're good at that, but that's why I love them.
Cody, what was your first car? Did you have was that the convertible one? No, you didn't have that one. Darn it.
Primer gray in the driveway. Yes. And you know nobody's gonna jack with the sugars too much about it. Like, yeah, don't mess with those dudes. Your butt can't make fun of them.
That was the fix back then. You could throw a boombox in the back seat and get better sound than you could out of some car stereo.
We didn't know about amplifiers and all that. It was just whatever speakers you found, get some speaker wire and just wire it all together.
Try to put it underneath the rug if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's a good point. Me either. So I was just out there with my borrowed speaker wire. Oh, whatever. Whatever. I think this call just ended. It's about that time to move on.
So I think when that Dakota came out, I think it had three color choices: red, black, silver, and Cody went with the fourth, primer gray.
Good old Cody. Way to go, Cody.
Nope.
But you got it, didn't you?
By the time you got home, you learned to drive it, though, right?
You know that old school parenting, it worked. Freedom. Well done.
Nice. Cody. Well, I appreciate the call. Thanks for
the
trip down memory lane, Cody. We'll see you. Bye.
I like Cody. I like sugars. They'll keep you on your toes.
My dad did the same. We bought a car that had a 5-speed in it, and I had never driven a 5-speed. Surprisingly, had dirt bikes growing up, had driven a moving van, but never a car. And my dad took me to the bottom of the longest hill around our house on an early Sunday morning on the shoulder and said, "All right, let's go to the top." By the time I got to the top, the thing wasn't rolling when we started. I could drive.
That trial by fire works. That
it really does.
In the deep end, that old school parenting, I like figure it out. I hear my stepdad in my head all the time. Figure it out. I don't care. Figure it out.
Adam Sugar says, "Tell him about when its brakes went out on me at 15."
Yeah, that.
I had that. My dad's got a '58 Impala that he bought and has redone and kept up. And I was driving that on a Sunday cruise and cruising down about 55 miles an hour, and all of a sudden I had no brakes.
Oof.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen in today's automobile.
Thankfully, that's scary. That's
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I'm very blessed. I look back at some of the knuckleheaded things I did, and yeah, I'm surprised I'm standing here with you today sometimes.
Exactly. Well, let's take a break. Uncle Mutt's Barbecue for the best barbecue in town, folks. Brisket, ribs, sausage, chicken, turkey.
It's too hot to cook.
Yeah. And you don't even have to get out of your car. Just drive through, order it up. I'll give it to you.
Done.
And take it home and enjoy it. So Uncle Mutt's is still serving it up.
Doesn't sound too bad right now.
It doesn't it?
It does not.
No. Great Barn Design. Give Cheryl a call, 920-6803 for all your design needs, efforts. She can take care of it all for you. You won't have to go through the work, the headache of trying to figure out what you like, what you don't like. Tell her what you like. She'll get it done.
I just need to have an event now.
That's exactly it. Just have an event. Give Cheryl a call if you're having an event.
Done.
920-6803. Wind Services, now's the time to get a generator before the next storm comes in and leaves you powerless. They've got backup generators for your home that are self-sufficient, self-contained. They test fire every month to make sure they're operating properly. And they now have solar backup. They can run on natural gas. They can run on propane. I mean, it's
get a generator.
Yeah. No, if this is probably the one investment that will be a lifesaver.
Yep.
Could certainly be a lifesaver. If you're on oxygen or you have any sort of machines that you need to survive on, if the power goes out, that's the way to go.
George, it's nasty down here when it's 100 and something degrees and you have no
No
power
AC.
and no AC and big mosquitoes. That you want that generator.
Yeah, and this is the time of year when, I mean, if your AC goes out, try to get somebody to come out. It could be a 2 to 4 day wait before
They're busy
because they're busy this time of year.
Yep. A lot of ACs dying.
Yeah, and then you throw a power outage on top of that. Doesn't take long in this heat for the home to get real hot. So give one a call. And then if you've got a concrete surface that you want to refresh and you don't want to go through the expense of jackhammering it out and putting in a new one, call Charlie Garcia at USA Concrete Coatings. 578-HOME. See what he can do to turn that space and revitalize it. With the concrete coatings and technology, this can be slip resistant, chip resistant. It won't fade because of the UV coating. It can bring new life to old patios. I just learned yesterday they can even recover. They can apply this on top of tile.
Wow.
So I'm going to assume if they can put it on tile, they can put it on brick.
Makes sense to me.
You would think, right?
Sounds good.
So, yeah. He's the one to call. USA Concrete Coatings. They can refinish any concrete surface that you have. 578-HOME is the number to call. Charlie Garcia, USA Concrete Coatings. I see we've got a guest in the lobby.
Saw that, yes, sir.
So
We're gonna go right here in this.
Yep. Surprise to me because I wasn't expecting any guests today, but stop on in and
we're gonna keep it right here.
Yeah.
Or you want me to move?
No, that's good. We're good.
Good.
Howdy, sir.
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Justin March stopping by.
Yes, sir.
Today's the day, isn't
Today
it?
is the day.
Today is a big day. I'm excited.
So I've seen a truck with a big trailer, big tote. Have you been driving the wheel?
Did you see the trailer?
It was big
We
enough.
spotted it. Yes, sir. We saw
I
it.
couldn't see who was driving because the trailer was so big.
I've driven around some. I've had some other people driving around. It'll be out a bunch today. That's for sure.
So election day is today. 7 to 7, the polls are open. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any last minute words for voters?
I mean, I've just been blessed with a lot of support. I appreciate all the people that have supported me through this campaign. And if you hadn't voted today, today's the day to do it.
Are you hearing the same? What was it? 8,000 or
8,000. Somebody said had voted in this.
If the numbers on the Republican side are quite that high, but it's a lot higher than we expected. They say historically on these runoffs, you don't see but 20 or 30%. We're well over 50% now. So that's been a surprise, but I think that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. I was surprised to see that number because typically those are kind of numbers you see early voting in just in a primary.
Well, during the primary,
Yeah.
you know,
And we were much higher than that this time around, but those are typically
7,000 or 8,000 is kind of what we expected to see for the primary. I think we saw 11,200, something like that.
yeah.
So,
So
the people are paying attention, and that's what we want.
obviously first time you've run, so I don't know that you have a basis for it, but are you getting feedback that the community is more engaged maybe this time around in this race than they have been?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's people asking questions all the time. I do believe that there's a lot more engagement on this race. You know, we haven't had a sheriff's race in quite some time.
And then even to have a sheriff's race mixed in with all the COVID stuff going, I mean, it's just a weird time for an election.
What's
you know.
what's the one question you're being asked the most?
Lots of people are concerned about, you know, the COVID stuff we're dealing with now, the mask orders and the enforcement side of that. Everybody's just real concerned about that.
Yeah, that's a lot of the same things that I'm hearing as well. Same questions.
Yeah. So polls will close at 7. When do you expect results to start trickling in, or when do you think you'll have an indication?
You know, I think we'll have the mail-in ballots and the early voting totals pretty quick after 7.
Do they start counting those at 7 or like early voting and stuff? Is that done ahead of time or do you know?
I think that's done ahead of time as far as the early voting, the mail-in, but I'm not exactly sure. But I know we'll get those results pretty quick, and then it'll take them some time to poll all the other places.
Gotcha. Because last time it was, what did the final, it was late, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there were some issues with the county reporting, and I mean, I think the state was getting it sooner than the county for some reason.
Right.
I think there was a misconnect with the software.
Hopefully everything works smooth today.
Are there any watch parties or anything going on that anybody that you guys want people out for support or anything?
We're going to be down at the Club Westerner.
Okay.
I'll be there about 7. And it's just kind of a come and go. So
Wear your masks,
yes,
social
by
distance.
all means, come by and say hello.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Justin.
It'll be a busy day. So
Going to be a very busy day, and I know you're probably starting the rounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we appreciate you making us part of those rounds. So thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time. Good to see you, my friend.
All
Have
right.
a blessed day.
Thanks, Justin. Wasn't expecting that. That's
always good.
A surprise. Yep.
It's always good. No, but that's a testament. I want to say quickly to you guys and what you put together over here. You know, I get to drop in every now and then and co-host, but you know that's a reflection upon what you guys are bringing here with this show is that people have an outlet to come and talk about the offices that they're running for, and I think it's neat that you guys have established yourself as the place to stop by and do that. So well done.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You know, that's always cool when you're sitting there because I was like, you didn't tell me we had guests coming in
I
today,
didn't.
and so it
I had no
you know,
idea.
but that's a cool thing. And
Yeah.
so that's a reflection upon what you guys have built, and congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Caleb.
You are welcome.
I'll buy you breakfast later.
Yeah, that's going to cost you.
Yeah. So what do you make of the president denying a request from Minnesota for $500 million
Good,
to help rebuild Minneapolis?
good. I'm okay with it. You know, I it'll be played against him, and he'll be the big bad orange guy for it. But I like the fact that you know the places where they said no, pull them back, let them burn it down, and then they turn around and they ask for a bailout on it. No, I'm all for protesting, but the first time a brick was thrown through a window, the protest was done, and then it's a riot. And they should have come out and you don't throw bricks through windows. You know, you should have been face down and arrested when that happened. And they let all of that violence and chaos and all of that just consume it, and then they turn around and I think it was done by design. Let them burn it down. And then Trump will deny the aid to it, and then he's somehow the big bad guy for not helping them when they needed it the most.
See, I don't know that they thought Trump would deny the aid. I thought they felt. I believe they felt that the federal government would come to the rescue because I mean,
Well, didn't California just like try to do the same thing? Gavin Newsom quietly try to turn around and ask for like $90 billion in assistance from the federal government.
I mean, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said in a statement, as we navigate one of our most difficult periods in our state's history, we look for support from our federal government to help us through. So they were expecting. That statement there tells me they were expecting the federal government to say, yep, we'll declare it a federal emergency, and FEMA can come through and that'll release some money for you.
It's not a federal emergency. We need to let them burn it down.
I agree. And in my opinion, FEMA is more set up for natural disaster, things that are beyond your control. You had the ability, Governor Walz, to control this. Mm-hmm. You had the ability to not stand down and to allow lawlessness and anarchy to take over your city of Minneapolis.
I think Chief Boyd, if I tried to go throw, if I was down there protesting downtown and I decided to throw a rock through a window, I think Chief Boyd would put me down on the sidewalk, and that would be the last rock I threw through the window over there. Rightfully so, and that's why I think come November that things have the potential to just get crazy, because we've allowed so much of that, and it's okay if you're angry to go break stuff now. That when Trump steals the election with the help of Russia,
he steals
or
another
whoever it is this time, that will be the excuse to burn it all down again.
Started reading a story yesterday, and I quickly lost my interest when all of a sudden that they only dive into one side of it. But it's interesting. Researchers started looking into bots on Twitter, right? And that all these anti-lockdown tweets, or all the anti-lockdown tweets, apparently were coming from a bunch of bots, over half of them. And so the question that came to my mind that was never answered in the article. So if anti-lockdown tweets and messages are being produced and disseminated by bots, what about all the lockdown messages? Are there no bots kicking those ones out as well? You can't tell me that one side is so advanced, the anti-lockdown side, that they would employ bots to get their message out faster and further than the lockdown side. It doesn't compute with me that one side is so much more advanced and willing to use the technology to advance their cause than the other.
Well, it's also the same argument. Is Trump an evil genius, or is he stupid? Because 1 minute he's so dumb, and then the next one, he's secretly doing it. Well, he's one or the other. He's either the genius mastermind that's playing you, or he's done. Which one is it?
Well, and here's why you can't believe any of the conspiracy theories that come out of the media with Trump collusion and Trump this, Trump that. With all the leaks in the White House and all the leaks in Washington, yet there's never any leaks about actually anything that actually would support those conspiracy theories, which is all they are. Mm-hmm. Right? There's been no credible leak that has Trump and Putin scheming to take over the world. None.
But it doesn't have to be the accusation. They walk out and they just throw some absurd thing. I saw you behind the college taking money from a Russian dictator to skew the elections. Hey, prove me wrong. And you're now a Russian spy. And then that's it. And they walk off. Well, the damage is done because every media outlet will run with whatever source. They'll throw it out there. Then the correction will come on page 27, section D in the bottom. And nobody will read it. And they know that.
Yeah. PJ Nelson says they're going to have a bake sale to raise the money for Minneapolis.
Yeah, good. Yeah, they should too. They should have to have a lot of bake sales because they did that. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of when I bought my first house,
there'll be some good Norwegian baking up there. Right? I'll get some Fyrstekakke.
When I moved into my first house, or one time when I was younger and I got a little mad in an argument, I accidentally, on purpose, hit this little door, and it was a little thin paper door, and my hand went right through it, and I looked tough, like. Dude, I just put my fist right through. Look how tough I am. Trying to impress my wife, show off my strength and all that. And so I was like, there's another little door over there. I'm going to get that one too. And I did, and it went right through it. Tough guy, looking real solid. Well, the next day when that argument was over and all that, I now have to pay for these doors. And I have to go replace these doors that I thought I was so cool with all my strength destroying. And I learned my lesson, though. I have not touched a door in 13, 14, 15 years. And I think they need to learn that same lesson. You don't burn down your stuff and then want other people to pay for it. Fix your own doors.
Jeff Fonseca says barbecue plates. I'm not sure Minnesota's too famous for their barbecue.
Yeah, they're becoming famous for all the wrong reasons right now. It's a sad thing. It's time to do something else.
I bet you though some walleye. They could sell some walleye plates.
They probably get away with it. And it sucks because they have some cool places. The Homes for Heroes headquarters is around there.
Is it?
And I've gone up to visit, and they have some neat. They took me to some rooftop like bars and restaurants where they have big games of bocce ball going on roofs of downtown. I mean, it was cool. Like you're down there in it was really neat. They had a lot of neat stuff going on, and to see it all just gone and destroyed, like that sucks. Not good.
We're headed to just what the heck is a walleye? It's a fish.
Yeah, I was kind of playing. I thought it was a fish, but I was kind of playing along with you. So yeah, thanks for asking me. I thought it might be some Canadian thing at first. I was just playing along.
I've heard a lot of good things about Minneapolis, St. Paul prior to this. That it's a really nice city.
Yeah, I enjoyed visiting there and had a good time with them. It was, but now this was 4 or 5 years ago. But it was the driving was insane and that sucked. But otherwise, the city itself was pretty neat at the time.
Yeah.
At the time, boy, we flew through. It's already 7:55.
I know, hard to believe. Speaking of flying through, Veracruz gets you in and out in under an hour. You can take it to go. You can take it home. You can get it delivered. 576-6015 for all your favorite, all our favorite Mexican food. Served up by Veracruz Restaurant, Monday through Friday. Lunch, dinner. Talked about one of my favorite dishes there, but man, I think they've got probably the best chicken mole in town.
You're not going to hear me argue. You're not going to hear me argue.
Good. We don't have time. We're almost out of time.
Yep. So, agreed.
So, get to Veracruz today. John Paul Hall at Razor IT Solutions. If you want to ask him questions about the back end, the front end, why your website is underperforming, how it can perform even better if it's doing well, John Paul Hall can help you help your business.
He is the man. Good guy.
And now may be the time. If you've got a business that has an online presence, it's probably not too late. But probably more important now than ever that your business can stand alone on the interwebs.
Stop trying to figure it out and just call JP.
Yeah.
Like it'll be worth it.
Adam Daughtry says Kayla's been chugging from that cup a lot. It looks like a mixed drink to him.
Man, it's a mixed drink of coffee. It's hard to come on at 7 a.m. and keep up with these guys and be sharp. I always thought he needs to have an afternoon show. We can do the drive home and talk to people and stuff. And sometimes this morning show is a little rough to be early. You drink the coffee when you can get it.
I kind of prefer the morning, to be honest.
When it's over, I'm always glad. But
gets the day going.
That first 10, 15 minutes, it's hard to be quick and sharp and that early in the morning,
Atzenhofer dealerships since 1926. Speaking of quick and sharp, they will make the car buying experience quick, painless, and easy. And you can do it all from Atzenhofer.com as well. If you want to do it from the safety of your home, it's there. They can do it. Chevrolet, Cadillac, Mitsubishi, Mazda, those are all the new cars that they have. They've got a great selection of pre-owned vehicles and all your service, all your body shop work. It's the one-stop shop. They've only been doing it since 1926. There's a reason they've been in business for 94 years. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. It's the only way you make it that long.
Only way.
Period.
Yep. Speaking of knowing what they're doing, White Trash Services, they know trash collection. Scott and BJ Nelson have taken 3 trucks and a yellow pad and grown it into a empire that serves 6 counties and continues to grow. And hopefully soon.
America,
yeah, no, it really is. This is the success story that the likes of AOC hope that never, ever happens again in this country.
Yeah, because then you don't need them. This is hard work exemplified, and it removes the value of those politicians. I'm with you, and I really look up to them out there, and I appreciate what they do.
550-1826 White Trash Services for all your trash collection needs. And then don't forget Dwayne Proctor, GDP Text 550-4744. Enough said. So Gomez checking in. So a lot of flap about, and I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time to get into it, the Washington football team. I haven't called them by their nickname in years. I personally think it's a derogatory term, but there are some that don't. There are Native Americans that have no problem with it. There are others that are offended on behalf of the Native Americans who don't find offense to the name, that they've taken up offense for them because they don't find it offensive, but they should, according to these woke folks who believe it should be offensive to them when they don't find it offensive. And there was an interesting article in the Billings Gazette. Did you follow me with my logic there?
I did. It sounds like the statue logic.
Yeah,
You know,
kind of.
it sounds very similar.
The Wetzel family was approached. They're Blackfeet Indians. They were approached in the 70s by the owners of, I think at that time, I think it was the Griffiths family, if I'm not mistaken, in Washington. And they designed the logo, the Indian head logo with the feathers. That was a tribute to the Blackfeet tribe in Montana. The Wetzel family, their grandfather, helped design that logo. They've been back to Washington. Not a huge fan of their current owner, Dan Snyder, but he's reached out. They brought him. They feel that this movement is severing what they view as a positive image for the Blackfeet Indians, and don't view this as a racial stereotype at all with the nickname.
You know,
And that's their perspective.
but no, you know, when you go to make your high school sports team or any team for that matter, you're not trying to come up with a mascot or a logo that people are going to make fun of and get, you know, jokes thrown into your way the whole time. You think of something that you want to go out and wear on your uniform, that you want to win under that banner, that you know. And so well, that's what gets me is, you know, it's a lot of times it's not the people that should be offended that are, it's the people that are offended for them. And that's like with the statue thing. For 200 years, however long, 100 years, whatever, people have been okay. And the actual people that went through it, they were somehow able to do all this. And then here we are, we're offended for them, and we need to come take things down. And so I don't know. I can see both sides, but
Rob Prather asked, didn't the Navajo Code Talkers come out years ago and support? You know, I don't know. I'd have to look that up, to be honest. I know when the University of North Dakota went through the name change with the Fighting Sioux, I think they changed it.
Tough. Like it was an honor to them. Like that was.
Well, and I believe the majority of the Sioux Indians in North Dakota were in favor of keeping it, but the NCA said, well, we can't have that on our jerseys.
I mean, if they wanted to come down and put the Caleb Shaws on a team and make them some cool thing and what, like, I wouldn't be offended by it unless they made me look like the kid off the Mad cover or something, you know, made me look all dumb. But otherwise, you know, they were trying to make them look tough to me and like warriors and stuff.
Another push, I believe there's a lawmaker, I don't know if it's in state or federal level, trying to get rid of the Texas Rangers name for the baseball team.
Yeah, I saw that.
What would be more offensive to Native Americans? Cowboys or Redskins?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going here, the Vikings plundered and pillaged.
Versus the Indians. You know, you got me on that one. And that's
the Vikings plundered and pillaged.
Yeah.
You know?
But that's the thing. You can only be selective about the outrage. You have to pick the little narrow window in history of, I'm offended from this time point to this time point. You know, and the battles and the victories before that, they don't count because they don't fit the narrative. And so,
are vegans going to make a push to get rid of the Green Bay Packers because of their meat packing lineage and heritage and homage?
You know, we joke about this, but we'll be back. I'll be back co-hosting in a couple of years, and we'll be talking about, you know, the Green Bay tofu or something. You know, it's
No, I mean it's getting to that point.
Yeah, everybody's always offended.
You know,
you're offending me now with those because I don't have a rebuttal.
Well, I mean, it's almost tongue in cheek, but it's not. That's a sad part. We've gone so far on both sides of the political spectrum here that it's almost like the radical fringes of both are controlling or trying to control the discussion, and they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
Because 80% of this country doesn't say anything when stupid ideas are brought forth and allowed to gain traction. Nobody speaks up against them. Part of that, I blame the cancel culture. Mm-hmm. Because the minute you stand up and say, well, that's not the greatest idea, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a sexist, you're this, you're that, you're that. They dox you, they cancel you, and then you're done.
Comply. Yeah, we don't encourage critical thinking much anymore.
Not at all.
Or looking at you just accept what you're told, and if you question it, then you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And I don't know. This is gonna be interesting. You know, who knows? We're gonna have all sorts of the Oranges playing the Blues next year. It's gonna be, you know, who knows where this goes.
Chris Connor says the yellow star on the Steelers logo represents the burning of coal to make steel. Well, I mean, that's an industry that's no longer here in this country for the most part. So does that offend
Maybe to
those who
the-
no longer can make steel?
Pittsburgh Solar Powers or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
We joke, but it, golly, it is crazy that's, we went from, like American ruggedism to strength and all this to, we need to soften our edges and we need to conform and comply and be one with the world. And let's lead from the front,
Yeah.
Let's go
Well,
be a
then you
better-
got idiots like AOC out there talking about how offensive it is to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and nobody calls her out for her idiocy. We did,
Yeah,
but most of the country just says, well, yeah, maybe she's got a point.
yeah.
Ugh, give me a break.
Because you don't know where she's coming from or what struggle she's had. Actually, you need to show some compassion, and not everybody, is a rich white male like you are. And so,
The struggle
you don't
she's
get an
coming from.
opinion. Just kidding, I'll give you an opinion. So,
Johnny Houghton says soon you'll be called Canada.
well played. That was, and on that note, that was I got nothing. I can't top that one.
I can't either, Johnny. You win the show today.
Yeah, that was that. I got nothing on
Yeah,
that.
no.
Brett back tomorrow?
He should be, as far as I know. If not, I'll give you a call
me,
later today.
Brett, thanks for letting me
Yeah.
slide in, my friend.
We appreciate everybody tuning in. Caleb, I always appreciate it. Great
Yes, sir.
job
Thank
as
you for
always.
having
Thank you for contributing to the great discussion.